our Lcas, London Care and Support Forum. And today our session is around international recruitment, and we'll be touching around pre and post arrival coming into the country. There are a lot of people actually have come in to the country already, so it's about post arrival. There's lots of questions of what to do for those people here already, and how can we help them. That seems to be the main questions that we seem to be receiving as well. But still, people are coming from abroad as well, which is hugely and important in what's going on. So do bear that in mind. Just very quickly, who we are. We're London Care and Support Forum, and we're part of the Care Association Alliance group, which is based, is a group that works across the whole country. And we speak with commissioners, we deal and work directly with Skills for Care, and we also work on various projects to also help support you as providers to make your life easier. I would say we're almost like the bridge between the local authorities, CQC, and yourself. So we try and share as much information as possible. Just to start, I think one of the things I've found at the moment in with speaking a lot of providers and actually staff that are coming in, it's around names and the spelling of names and how it works. And what I found is that pronouncing names is the first thing that we try and do when we meet staff, and getting their name right is really important. Getting it wrong can be something which can lead to people being called names which they're not their own. So I say, why struggle with that? And you can actually see here where I will share in the chat later, where you can get someone's name phonetically pronounced so that we can't get it wrong. And what I'm finding is even with English names, overseas staff are actually struggling with that. So some of the time I'm called Doodley instead of Dudley. So actually breaking it down actually makes life so much easier, so people are able to go and work and to name is and what your name is. I'm also added as well, if you wanted to, in your signature, that in your signature, and I've also put my pronouns there as well, so people are able to understand. There's no confusion with it as well. And just the fact that that people should know is that 73% of people have had their names mispronounced, regardless of whatever the reason. It's hurtful for those around. And your name can mean more than just something that you're called. It's your heritage. It's what you're known by. And I think it's something that we should all understand as well. So please do bear that in mind as well when we move forward in regards to that. So various developments have been happening as well. This week, for anyone who's not aware, is Race Equality Week. And the theme is listen, act, and change. And organizations are moving from words to action. Leaders and managers are driving change and being accountable and engaged, and allies are becoming active. So do bear that in mind. Skills for Care have got a link, which I will share shortly, but it's Race Equality Week, so it's a good time to share with your staff what's happening. But one thing I always say when it comes to things like Race Equality Week or things such as Black History Month, it's more than just that week. So you can use a lot of these things after this week as well. So it's good to share with your teams and your staff, and it's very helpful. So do bear that in mind when you are actually going through that. Skills for Care want to hear from your commitments to race equality in the workplace, and they've shared a range of things. I will share that in the chat so that you will get a chance to hear and see that as well. So last week we had our last meeting, we had the pleasure of CQC. The focus of CQC going forward is really looking at providers now and actually what they're doing, about how they're treating their staff, and whether there's a lot of element around modern day slavery, which seems to be one of the things they're focusing on. What they've said though is that if the Home Office find that providers have lost their license or their license have been revoked, they will be sending that list to CQC. So once they send that list to CQC, they will be potentially coming to see, and they won't just be looking at your international recruitment, they'll probably be looking at other things as well. So be aware in regards to keeping things up to date, making sure you're doing everything by the book, you're going through the right procedures, and if you're not, please try and seek going through what you've done already, or seek access from a professional. You can come and speak to us at Lcas, or you can speak to a lawyer. We've got Claudine Reed on the call, on the chat today as well, and she's providing a lot of support as well for the providers as well. So please do make the most of actually using the people here. And I do say at the moment, we're here, we're free to help and support you. So please do keep in touch with us. I think it's hugely important when we're doing that. We are also running live events as well. And we have a live event which is taking place in North London on the 29th between 10:30 and 3 o'clock. We're joined by a host of different guests on the day, speakers. We have the Home Office, CQC, Skills for Care, PJs Community Services. We also have lawyers there. They'll be doing some talks, and I'll will be speaking as well. But we also have breakout rooms where we'll be able to actually have a time with some lawyers that we have provided. We'll have Claudine Reed and her team will be there around pastoral care and what you're doing and supporting. And if we're lucky, we may get some time. We'll have Skills for Care as well. And we'll be giving you support and they'll be telling you about funding as well. And you'll be able to ask questions on the day. We'll be providing refreshments as well. So I will also send the link in the chat for you to actually access as well. So please do, if you're based in anywhere in North London, you can come in and join. But we're also doing a session in South London as well, based in Croydon. That'll be taking place on the 11th of March. So you'll be able to access that. If you can't come to North London, you can come also as well on the 11th of March, which is going to be taking place in Croydon. It's really important right now when we think about all the things that are going on to understand that recently this week, there was a firm that was charged and they were bringing workers over from Africa and the costs were over 6,500, which was found for more than many people. So many people have been charging people from overseas. It's called unethical recruitment. And what they've been doing is now the Home Office are swooping down on these providers who've actually charged the staff from overseas. What they're doing is they're speaking to the staff are telling them prices they've paid, and this has been fed back. So for all those individuals who've gone through various practices, all I can say to you is just make sure that you've got everything documented, you've got all your agreements in place, and please, 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 a lot of people have come into this country for different means. The most important thing is care, is that you want not just trying to avoid people paying to come over this country, but we want genuine people to be caring for those people that we're supporting. Actually bringing those in without the full documentation is really a concern. So please be mindful. As we said, the Home Office are now coming down and licenses are being revoked. There is a list that we are privy to that we're looking at. And so you do know, and once you've lost your license, getting it back can be very difficult. So this is something I would say to be very mindful of in whatever you're doing. So just be mindful in what's going on. So do bear that in mind. For any queries, you can access my details there or Peter Webb. You send us an email. We will be sharing this as well on the website as well, but you can connect with us on the WhatsApp and we will be in touch with you, or you can let us know if need be. So thank you very much. If there's any other questions you'd like to ask, please do share it in the chat, or if you want to ask anything else before we go on to Claudine Reed, please let me know. I'll leave this up there very briefly before I go in there. So you can leave something in the chat or raise your hand. Okay. Well, I take from that means that everyone's satisfied with what I've got to say. And what we're going to do, I'm going to stop sharing right now. Thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce Claudine Reed, who's here. Claudine, the floor is yours. I think they await to hear what you're going to tell them. Thank you very much. You can share your screen, or you should be a co-host.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me first of all start by saying thank you very much, Dudley, and the team at Lcas for arranging today's session. I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible, but I'm going to ask you two things, and I'm going to try and make this interactive. So I know some of you may be using either a laptop or a phone. But if you possibly can, have another device, maybe a mobile phone, because I want to kind of share with you an activity that we use with the actual international recruits. So if you can have a mobile phone handy, and we'll do an activity later on. I am going to try and leave enough space for Q&A so that we can really immerse ourselves in the conversation that we're going to be having shortly. All right. And just a quick note, if you do see me moving my head like this, it's because I'm across two screens and I've got the I can see you on this screen and I've got the presentation here. I just like to have it also as a backup. You know, sometimes there are tech challenges that we have to try to navigate. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. And if you do have any questions, what I'd really hope, maybe if you can save those to the end or put them in the chat, and maybe Dudley, if there's any burning questions that you know we need to pick up halfway through, we can do that. All right, so this particular piece, as Dudley had said earlier on, is about creating a robust pre- and post-arrival framework for international recruits. And I think he kind of already alluded to the fact that this is probably now going to focus more on the post-arrival. And there will be some overlap. As Dudley was speaking, I was like, yeah, that's one of my slides. Yeah, that's also one of my slides. But that's a good thing. So we won't have too much challenge around there, but it also reinforces where we are and what we're doing. So my slides are not moving. So this particular piece is for those of you who are in the North and the South London, North Central London and South West London regions. When we say North London, we are specifically speaking of the London boroughs of Barnet, Enfield, Camden, Haringey, and Islington. And when we say South, we're speaking specifically around Wandsworth, Croydon, Merton, Sutton, Kensington and Chelsea, Kingston and Richmond. And if you are in any of those boroughs, you are able to access these services with no additional cost to yourself. So let me get into it. I'm going to share a little bit more about PJs Community Services and the background of what we do. I'm going to give you an overview and a background of the actual project, so at least you have a bit more context of what we are doing. Then I'm going to focus in on the North Central London offer, and then I'll focus in on the South West London offer. I'm going to speak about some of the key agencies that Dudley has already referenced. I won't spend too much time on that because he has, you know, referenced that really beautifully. But just to kind of demonstrate what that means for yourselves and your respective organisations and how this relates to your post-arrival support. Then I'm going to try and do an immersive cultural awareness quiz experience for you. So please do, if you can, I'd love for you to engage. It won't take too long. And it will also demonstrate to you what the international recruits experience when they come on the journey of pastoral support for us. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the responsibilities as you of the sponsors. That's you. So your responsibility as sponsors. And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So just give me a thumbs up if you know that you are in the right place. Let me just make sure we've got a little bit of group participation. Either use the reaction buttons or just see you. I can see a few faces. Sheila, Joy, Patricia. Yes, thank you. Yep, I can see some thumbs. All right, so I'm not out here in virtual space all by myself. Thank you, Cassandra, Patricia, Sheila. Yep. Trevor, thank you. All right, please do take a quick screen grab of our contact details. So I'm Claudine. I am the project manager for this particular piece. Caramel, she is the project manager for North London, and Laura is the project manager for South London. So if after today's session you need to get in contact with them, feel free to drop them an email and they'll be able to connect up and respond to you as swiftly as possible. Just by way of details about PJs Community Services and why North Central London and South West London have commissioned us to do so, to deliver this piece of work. So we're a multi-award winning social enterprise established in 1992. We provide 4 key services: care to vulnerable adults and children. So similar to yourselves, we are also care providers. I guess the only difference is that we don't have certificates for sponsorships, but we have been on that journey. So we fully understand and can appreciate some of the nuances that as care providers that you are experiencing. We fully understand and are able to respond to some of the challenges around the key agencies that you need to be working with: the local authority, CQC, the Home Office, and HMRC. So we have that immersed level of understanding. And we also provide education and support to young people who are at risk of exclusion. We provide social enterprise support to organisations and individuals, as well as community wellbeing programmes, especially in a post-pandemic era that we are trying to navigate. Background to this particular piece of work, I kind of already implied where we are, but just to reiterate for purposes of those of you who may have missed it. So if you are in the London boroughs of Barnet, Camden, Enfield, Haringey, or Islington, the specific offer in those particular regions is to provide an in-depth pastoral care and support programme to international recruits that are already here. So as we speak about the post-arrival support in the North Central London region, it's specifically pastoral support for those international recruits that are already in the borough. We're going to delve a little bit more into what that looks like in a moment. For those of you who are in the South West London, we've been commissioned to work with organisations that are either based in Croydon, Sutton, Merton, Wandsworth, Richmond, and Kingston. So if you could just help me just for a moment, just type in the chat what London borough you are from. If you could just type in the chat what London borough you are from, that will just help me immensely as I look across 2 screens to see where you are. So Haringey, Enfield, Richmond, okay, that's great. Croydon, Richmond, this is good. Lambeth, okay. Fulham, Croydon, this is good. Croydon again. Croydon, Merton, this is good. This is good. Richmond, yeah, wonderful. Greenwich, okay, this is good. So we've got a real good mix here, real good, healthy mix of people from across the London. Lambeth, yeah. Greenwich, yeah, this is good. Okay, so you will know that whatever London borough you are in, as I go further and explain the type of offer, just to reiterate, these services are at no additional charge to yourself. There is a deadline. The Department for Health and Social Care that is actually funding this piece of work said that it's available until the 31st of March. So number one, there's a deadline. That's something you need to know. Number two, that means if there's a deadline, we need to move speedily. We need to move swiftly so that you can access the support service. Dudley kind of spoke about this earlier on, and I wanted to highlight this a bit more about some of the challenges that we are seeing in the media. A Cambridgeshire care worker was struggling after the care service was closed. There's fears in care homes for overseas workers, the ban on bringing their families here. Then there's another challenge that Reuters was speaking about, how international recruits are shouldering the health and care work in the UK, but immigration crackdown could deter them. And so this particular piece here is really important for you to access the services that are available for you to support your organisations. I want to try and dispel any fears or any concerns that you may have, because our role, like Lcas, is specifically to support your offer. It's to come alongside you and to hold your hand to ensure that whatever it is that you are, whatever level of support that you need, that we can add value to that level of support that you have already provided. So again, if you could just let me know in the chat box, just put a number of how many international recruits you already have. So just in the chat box, just tell me how many do you already have in your organizations. If it's none, then just say none. But if it's a number, 9, okay, Leonie, thank you very much. 1, Babu, thank you. 6 from Dave, thank you, Dave. If it's none, just put none. 3 from Mabel, none. Okay. 5 from Bab. Yep. 6, 0. Okay, this is good. None. Okay. None. All right, so there's a real good mix in the room, a real good mix in the virtual room. Some of you ranging from 0 up until 9, but that's really good. So for those of you who might be thinking of getting international recruits, there is still an opportunity to leverage the support that's already in the country, and I will get to that piece in a moment. But the first piece is to really kind of recognize what the media is highlighting about some of the challenges in this space. And what we really want to highlight, what Lcas is doing wonderfully and what PJs are coming alongside you to do, is to highlight the support that you are able to access in this space. I'm not going to go over this particular slide too much because I want to kind of delve a little bit deeper. But activity number 1, for those of you who are in North Central London, please do grab this screen, this QR code, and you can use the QR code to access the service immediately. I will share the links with you for those of you who may not be able to grab the QR code for North Central London. But if you are, grab a screen grab of North Central London QR code, and what that will do, it will take you directly to register your interest for support. So let me tell you what support looks like for North Central London. They are funding, North Central London are funding a specific pastoral care and cultural awareness training for North Central London providers only. What that looks like is at tier 1, you would introduce your international recruits to a group cultural awareness training. It's a 4-hour training session. You would introduce your carers, your recruits, to the group, a group training session that will allow them to raise their levels of cultural awareness. And what's been interesting in this particular tier 1 session is the conversation about loneliness, the conversation about their mental well-being, the conversation, it's the points that Dudley spoke about earlier on, about how they're actually integrating in society, in UK life. What does that actually mean? Having an understanding about the nuances of life. In some cultures, it's acceptable or almost expected to refer to your elders as auntie or uncle. And what they were sharing was that in some of the settings that they are working on here, they found that it's becoming a challenge when they refer to elders as auntie or uncle, for example. It was met with a bit of hostility. So the cultural awareness training is delivered by Dr. Joan Myers, OBE. She also trains the nurses who are coming over into the UK. So she has, some really great in-depth experience of how to support international recruits who are delivering social care services, but she does have experience across the whole spectrum. So that's on tier 1. That particular level of service is open to up to 50 recruits. So if you have international recruits, they will come into the funnel at tier 1 and start off with a group cultural awareness training session that takes 4 hours. Once they have done that session, they then move into tier 2. Tier 2 is specifically group pastoral care and a buddy support. What we are finding is that the international recruits are saying, we're lonely, we have no friends, we don't know who to go to, we only have our work space, and after work everybody kind of goes back to their family life or their own circumstances. So what the group session does, it allows for them to have a bit more support. The pastoral care is delivered by BACP approved counsellors. So that's the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists. They are approved to deliver pastoral care and help make sure that we are supporting international recruits in a way that is conducive to where they are coming from and is conducive to what they need, more importantly. After they've been through 6-week support session on tier 2, they are then able to access a tier 3, which is one-to-one pastoral support. One-to-one pastoral support for up to 4 to 6 weeks. Again, all of this is at no extra charge to you. When I speak later on about how this fits in with the CQC requirements, all of you will be happy to know that this fits in very, very nicely with your ability to demonstrate how you are supporting your recruits, not only with the normal expected regulatory requirements, but this is now moving you into good and outstanding, because you are now bringing in external agencies to support your team and adding value to what you are already doing. A couple of the things that came out in some of the community or tier 2 conversations were simple things about where to buy food items, where is the local church or mosque that you go to, what type of things do you do at the weekend, how do you overcome loneliness. And what we're finding is that they're able to create buddy supports or community or networking groups amongst themselves in order to overcome the challenges. And then the bespoke tier 3 service really allows them to delve into any personal issues. And then the personal issues are things like they miss their family. You know, I shared with you earlier on about the ban that the Home Office are having on international recruits bringing their family members over. That is having a significant impact on some of the recruits that we're wanting to support. So those are some of the things that we need to be able to take into consideration. I'm going to share with you the link. Let me just put that in the chat for you. So for those of you who may not have been able to access the QR code, I'm going to put in the chat, if I can find it on my screen. Here we go. I'm going to put in the chat the link for North Central London. So for those of you who want to access the services for North Central London, you are able to do so. I'll put the link in the chat for you. All right, so let's just go back a moment, share screen. All right, brilliant. All right, so I'm going to move on then to the Southwest London. For those of you who are providing services in any of the Southwest London boroughs, please do take a screen grab of this QR code. I will share the link with you at the end, and you can access the services there. Now, Southwest London is has a very, very different offer to Northwest London. Southwest London, after their research, kind of did a very more of a bespoke offer. And the bespoke offer is really, again, coming alongside your existing service to offer an in-depth UK VI and compliance audit check. I'm going to share with you one of the audit checks. I've redacted some of the information, and I think it might be really helpful for you to understand. For those of you who have certificates of sponsorship, what could UKVI, what could the Home Office be asking you for, and how do you prepare for an inspection? So what Southwest London have commissioned us to do is to provide a series of workshops that will allow you as the providers to get ready and make sure that you are compliant. This is the thing that Dudley was speaking about earlier on, to make sure that you are ready for all of those compliance measures and compliance checks. We'll also be carrying out some mock inspections, again, coming alongside. So just for clarity, we do not work for the Home Office. This is not punitive. Our role is to come alongside to support you and make sure that when the Home Office do come along, that you have everything in place so that it should be a breeze. It shouldn't have, I don't know how many of you have had an unannounced CQC inspection and you've got heart palpitations and you're thinking, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This particular piece is to ensure that we can support you to allay any fears. The third level of support for Southwest London region is that enhanced workforce development action planning piece. So when we talk about the post-arrival support, let's have a look at what does that look like and how do you then go ahead and support international recruits. You still have to support them. You still have to provide training. You still have to provide cultural awareness. But what we want to do is come alongside, have a look at what things you have in place and how can we support you to enhance what you have in place to make sure that as you're navigating your way through CQC regulations, you can always be having your sights to get the next level of rating up to what you currently have. We also provide an enhanced organisational development and sustainability planning for providers that are challenged with meeting local demand. And what that looks like is this. What we're finding is that some providers are not able to provide the 37.5 hours, 37.5 hours worth of care that they are obligated to provide to international recruits. Just for clarity, the international recruits are mandated to have 37.5 hours. They can do an additional 20 hours with another employee on the condition that they are already doing 37.5 with their first employee. What we are finding is that some employers, and this is probably the piece, if I go back to the media highlights, this is probably the piece that the media is picking up, that the care workers, either they don't have enough hours or they are struggling because they don't have enough, they're not earning enough in order to make it worth their while to stay in the UK. So what we're doing is creating almost like an ecosystem where providers, for example, if you don't have the required amount of hours, you can then support you can then collaborate with other providers to support that international recruit to potentially work somewhere else. So let me explain what that looks like. We've got a couple of recruits who were assigned to work with organisation A, for example. Organisation A doesn't have enough hours. We can then support organisation A to transfer their certificate of sponsorship to organisation B in order to ensure that particular international recruit can then meet the 37.5 hour mandatory hours that they need to fulfill in order to maintain their standard and cost of living. I hope that makes sense. So we're trying to then curate collaborative conversations and create a space for support. So just for clarity, the South West London offer is slightly more bespoke than the North Central London offer. So here you have the ability to think about, where are my pain points? What do I need? Especially for those of you who are thinking, actually, I'm not 100% sure of where I need to go. On our team, we also have Neil Wilson, who is an international recruitment specialist. So if there is something that that Caramel or Laura are not able to deal with, then Neil is more than able and capable of picking that up. So I'm going to pause there just for a moment. And let me see. I wonder if there are any questions on those offers before we move on. I'm going to also put the South London link in the chat.
Okay, so whilst you're doing that, there is a question that's coming. I'm not sure if Patricia wants to ask it directly or I can ask on your behalf. It's fine either way. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but what evidence do you need to have to take on a worker who wants to do additional hours with your organisation is the question.
That's a really good question. What evidence is required for the employee?
Patricia, I'm not sure if you want to clarify if it's for the employee or for the actual provider. I'm not sure which on whose ground, or if you're going to ask both. I don't know.
Hi. Well, really on both. So we have several people approaching us to do the additional 20 hours with us. And previously, we were allowing them to work with us. And quite often it's because they don't have their hours elsewhere. And we do not, well, at that point, we're not ready to take on somebody to do their full 37.5 hours with us. So if somebody comes to us and says, we want to do 20 hours with you, what do we need to provide as evidence for UKVI? Or do we need to provide any evidence for UKVI? Are we able to just employ them? So I've been looking online and I can't actually see what's required. It says that they should, but if they just say to us, yes, we're working 40 hours elsewhere, but we can work with you on the weekends and do 20 hours, can we just accept that?
I think that's a really great question, Patricia. I think there has to be a deeper level of due diligence just to make sure that everybody is compliant. So it might be we've got to verify that they actually have the certificate of sponsorship, who holds the certificate of sponsorship, so that you can be clear that you're not in breach of any UK BI or Home Office regulations. So if they are already doing 37.5 hours, then it should be no problem for them to introduce you to their employer who's issued the certificate of sponsorship. And what that does, it allows you to be clear that you've done your level of due diligence. So for example, if CQC came for an inspection, or the Home Office, or HMRC, because everybody's linked here, right? Everybody, all the agencies are linked. And what they're doing is making sure that the RTI, the real-time information, is up to speed and above board. And what you don't want to do, or don't want to be in the position of, is being in breach of any of that.
I mean, we have to,
Go ahead.
well, we do for all our staff anyway, we would have to do the right to work check. So we would check that they had a right to work in the UK and they're being sponsored. So we've got that, that's fine. It's the 20 hours because, to be honest, the companies that we've approached are not willing to share that information with us, or to even really liaise with us, probably because they haven't got the staff. There's a lot of people that are here without the hours. So do we not employ them?
That's a really good question, Patricia. Let me say this. It could be there could be a note of suspicion, and that's what I'm finding. So potential providers are not really wanting to share this information with each other. And that's one of the reasons why the South West London offer is more about creating that collaborative space. So what we've done, for example, in Croydon, there's an agency called We Work, and they actually were the ones who were if you like, the middleman, the middle person, the middle organization, where the international recruits were going to this Croydon Works. Sorry, I said We Work. It's called Croydon Works. They were going to this organization, and then they came to us, and we were able to determine where we could signpost them to. What I'm finding is that providers may not want to share that level of information with other providers, but I think it's also about the lack of knowledge. I think the more we collaborate with each other as opposed to compete, then it makes it more palatable. We are all able to support each other in this particular space. So the other thing to take into consideration, Patricia, is that they may be able to offer them the 37.5 hours. And if they don't have the 37.5 hours, it's about exposing yourself, right? They don't necessarily want to expose themselves to say, actually, I don't have 37.5 hours. And if I tell you this, you're not in a position to help me anyway, because what you're going to do is take away that person who potentially is only doing 10 or 15 hours, and then you're going to take them and give them 20 hours. So the collaborative conversation piece is not about competition. It's about, we are all having a similar problem. How do we help each other navigate the similar problem that we have, so that we can all find workable solutions? Workable solutions, I repeat, workable solutions that benefit all of us. If one employer only has 20 hours for their international recruit, the only person who is suffering here is the international recruit. He or she should be earning up to £22,000, and they're not. And their employer may be afraid of sharing this information because of the potential repercussions on them, their business, their certificate of sponsorship, their workforce development plan, and their ability to deliver the service. There are lots of nuances that we have to take into consideration. But having an organization like Lcas, or having an organization like PJs Community Services, we are the middle man, if you like. I'm not seen as, PJs Community Services is not seen as competition, because in the first instance, we don't have any certificates of sponsorship. So I'm not looking to take your staff. I don't have the cause, but I can deliver the service because I understand the nuances. I've been in the space for over 30 years. I have CQC registration. I understand what the Home Office are looking for. I understand what HMRC are looking for. Patricia, I hope that answers your question.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, Claudine, because you know we're I'm so sorry. There are sort of people, say London Borough of Bromley, they're based in Bromley, or they're based in Enfield, or wherever. You know, it's what do we need to provide, because these people are coming, they're coming to work, they're not receiving their hours, they want to do 20 hours or more with us. What do we need to provide them? Not PJS, but us as an organization. What do we need to do to make sure that we cover ourselves, while also at least giving these poor people some hours rather than nothing, you know, supporting them to live.
If I could go back to my point, it's not you that has to provide, it's the international recruit that needs to get, well, they should all have a copy of their certificate of sponsorship, but it's your conversation with the first employer who's providing the 37.5 hours. So you're not the onus of, or the burden of proof is not on you, Patricia, it's on the international recruit to demonstrate where they are and that they've got the 37 hours, but they may not be able to do that. That information may need to come from the first employer, but the challenge is the first employer may not want to have that conversation with you.
I mean,
in that case, we don't employ them. We just leave them, is I suppose what we're saying. In that place, we just say, sorry.
yeah, I mean, what I would say is this, so everyone, listen, there is lots happening at the moment in this space. And I think what happened is the Home Office initially did this and they thought, okay, if we play by the rules, we're going to get people in. They have to go with the main provider they've come into. They have to work the 37.5 hours. And then after that, they can do the 20 hours elsewhere. So as long as they have the main person who what they came in with the certificate with, that's the person they're meant to be starting with. But what we found, especially with a lot of domiciliary care companies, is that a lot of domiciliary care companies cannot provide the amount of hours. So you have a lot of staff at the moment who are now needing work elsewhere, and they're approaching lots of organizations. I'll let Claudine finish, but at the moment, what we're looking at is actually providing a pipeline for those to be able to take on staff, and they're going to expedite it so it's a lot quicker rather than going to someone from coming abroad. So the government have looked at that. We've been speaking with the Home Office ourselves and speaking with various organizations, the Department of Health and Social Care and Skills for Care. So there will be something which is changing. So do watch this space. Get in touch with us, but also as well, we have access to lawyers as well who are on point. What we don't want to do is, even if, for example, Claudine told you something right now and you went and did it, it's always good to make sure you get it backed up with a lawyer and co-sign, because what they're doing is they're revoking licenses now on people not getting things correct. So it's a very, very careful minefield. So be very mindful before you accept any staff. First and foremost, I would first and foremost, not just you can come to us, we'll put you in touch, we'll have a lawyer on hand. So everything is done by the book. So at least you're covering yourself. What we don't want is the good care agencies or care providers who've done things by the book to suffer and fall foul of what's going on with the Home Office. They're on an actual mission to actually catch out health and social care providers. So just be mindful of that. But you can send me a direct message, and we can sort of speak on that further afterwards.
Thank you, Dudley.
No problem. I think we've got 2 hands up and we've got another question. So I think Jennifer was first. So Jennifer, if you unmute your microphone and then you can ask the question, if that's okay for you, Claudine.
Yeah, that's sure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dudley, and thank you very much, Claudine. My question is around the arrangements of this collaborative working. You know, sometimes a situation might arise where the provider might lose some hours as a temporary situation, and this can be resolved within a very short period of time. My impression about what you said is that if you are not able to provide the 37 hours, then you would collaborate with another organization to transfer the certificate of sponsorships to that person. How about if this is just a temporary situation that you're trying to resolve over a short period of time that doesn't require the transfer of sponsorship? Do you deal with such situations at all?
Thank you for the question, Jennifer. So it's not that we're, just for clarity, it's not that we're transferring the certificate of sponsorship. It's about facilitating that the collaborative conversation in order to support the providers to give the 37.5 hours to the international recruits to ensure that they can still maintain their standard of living here in the UK. So it's facilitating those conversations and coming up with different types of options or different types of solutions that will make that work. So sometimes in order for that to happen, and it's similar to the conversation that Patricia raised, that there may not be a one-size-fits-all approach. So those collaborative conversations help us to see where are the gaps in workforce development, what is permissible, what's permissible that we can do. And back to Dudley's point, the Home Office are changing everything as we speak. So facilitating or having the ability to facilitate these types of conversations, this is about making sure the providers don't fall foul of the law and making sure that the actual international recruits still have work. And in order to do that, we might need to come together to have a look at what could we do in order to come up with a workable solution.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Jennifer. Just to add to that as well, what is happening is that the Home Office are the ones who are in charge. At our last meeting, what we had was CQC, are the regulators, and the Home Office, who are not experts in social care or health and social care, are making some decisions. So we're trying to feed back information. We're speaking to CQC. They're sitting down with the likes of Skills for Care, and they're trying to address the major issues that are coming up. So please share any information that you are having. Let us know. We'll try and address it, and also try and help where we can, whether it be with lawyers or whether it be with PJs or with ourselves. We have access up to the senior level and those in various sort of areas as well. But if we don't have the information from you, we can't tell the Home Office what's going on. And I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Part of the success of this is about taking your real live feedback and then feeding that in. And we're both, Lcas and PJs Community Services, are in a position to kind of influence some of the decisions that are being made and how we can best support you. What I'd like to do, Dudley, because I've got two more things that I'd like to do. If we can, if I can continue, I can see Cassandra, Ifoma, and
yes, and Kalani.
Yes, and Kalani.
And there's a question in the chat as well. So if we can kindly hold our questions, and we're Claudine get with her slides, and then we can, once you finish that, then we can have as many Q&As as we can get through as well.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
And if you are pressing so much, you can put the question in the chat as well, and we will also access it as well.
All right, brilliant. All right, so share screen. So we've kind of spoken about this particular piece already, so I'm not going to labor this too much. But what I wanted to share actually is the slide. What I wanted to share is an anonymized letter from the Home Office. So for those of you who currently have certificates of sponsorship, I want you to kind of think about, if the Home Office were going to be coming to you to ask you, or for an inspection, these are some of the things that you will be expected to provide. So again, we've redacted the information, and what they're wanting you to do is to provide an explanation as to why your business needs to recruit additional sponsored workers. It must be specific to your business. They will want a full job description of all of the main duties and the role of the workers. Now, some of this information you should already have anyway, but I just wanted to show you what this looks like. They'll also want to see copies of current contracts and agreements to demonstrate the business has genuine vacancies related to your request. So if you're thinking about, for those of you who shared earlier on that you've got 1, 5, 9, 6 certificates of sponsorship or international workers, these are some of the things that the Home Office will be wanting to see. This bullet point here, they'll want to see a hierarchy chart detailing who currently works in the organisation for each vacant position within the organisation, and which of those potential vacancies the international recruits would fill. They want to see staff rotas, dating back for 4 weeks from the date of the request. And now some of these things are really, really difficult to provide. Those are some of the conversations that we are having right now. And some of you are on spot purchasing, and that might be difficult to supply. They want to see copies of employment contracts between your business and the existing workers that you sponsor for each sponsorship code. And then they want to see a fully completed additional information form. So I just wanted to kind of share this with you so that you can kind of get a flavour of what some of the things that the Home Office would be asking you for, most of which you will already be able to produce. But this is what the offer in the South West London region that we are able to support. So this is post arrival support. So not so much pre-support, because Home Office, I think the last time we checked, in terms of issuing new certificates of sponsorship, that's kind of slowed down. What the focus of attention right now is more about making sure that those who do have certificates of sponsorship are compliant, making sure that those of you who are, for those of you who do have international recruits, that you're doing it in a way that is meets the regulation, so that if there are inspections or if there are unannounced inspections, that you can do those with ease and with minimum challenge. All right, so let's go back here. All right, so we've kind of spoken a little bit around the requirements for the requirements around HMRC, the Home Office, and the Care Quality Commission. All of you are fully aware of the requirements of CQC, but also take into account that all of these three agencies, they're all government agencies, and at some stage they will be working, what's the word I'm looking for, collaboratively, in the same way that we're suggesting you as providers work collaboratively. The agencies are working collaboratively in order to make sure that there is compliance. There's lots of talk around the system being abused. There's lots of talk around inspections that need to be taken place. I just showed you the letter that the Home Office have sent to a provider. So think about, for those of you especially with international recruits, what you need to do and how you can make sure that you are compliant. All right, I want to kind of take a little bit of a breather, and I want to share with you an immersive experience that the international recruits would have if they come to you, if they come into your organization, or any of the international recruits that may take the opportunity to come into the funnel in order to take part in the cultural awareness training. So I'm going to share my screen, and for those of you with a mobile phone, if you can go to Kahoot, and we're going to really see if who are the competitive ones amongst us. This is literally just a very short breather. It's an introduction to cultural awareness training. I'm trying to give you an experience of what the cultural awareness training could potentially look like. Thank you, Ife, for joining in. It's literally just a little bit of fun for you to join in, see how this works. It will literally take 10 minutes. I want you to get involved in the experience so that as you begin to start signing up your international recruits, you'll get an opportunity to experience what they will experience. And some of these questions that we're about to ask is also about your understanding. So some of the things that the international recruits may be asking you, how do we do, or what is the information that we need to have? I'm going to probably give a few more minutes. I've got 9 players so far, 10 players so far.
Don't be shy, everyone. This is part of what we're doing in real life. I know as care managers or seniors, you'll want to share what you can take back to your working environment. So this is, you know, you want to know what it's like first, so they'll be able to experience it. So hopefully I get to win. Who knows?
the other thing to take into consideration is some of the questions that we're about to ask on the quiz. Some of your international recruits may be asking you this, so you can kind of take this as an opportunity to grab some learning in a different way. All right, I'm going to give about 60 more seconds. We've got 14 players so far. I'm going to give about 60 more seconds for anybody else who's ready to go. And the countdown will be on. The instructions are pretty simple. All you have to do is read the question and you answer on your device, and the answers will come straight up onto the screen. All right, 10 more seconds. Anybody else who wants to join? We've got 15 players. Then after this, we will go back to the final piece, talking about the responsibilities of the providers, which we've kind of danced around, and then we can open up for any more questions before you get back to your Friday afternoon. 16 players, 10 seconds to go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We've got 17 players. All right, let's go. You should see all of the questions coming up on the culture quiz. All you need to do is read the question and click your answer, true or false. Every country has its own cultural difference.
Is it the quickest finger on there? Is that how it wins, or how does it? Oh dear.
So 16 said yes. One person said no. All right. So it also is testing your speed. So as fast as you possibly can. All right. Next question. So we can see Reed was first with the answer. Next question. Which one of the following is not included in culture? All right. Shopping is the correct answer. We had somebody said food, somebody said faith, but shopping is the correct. It looks like somebody's drawing on your whiteboard, Dudley. I'm not sure what's happening there. I will carry on, but it looks like I've got some red lines on the whiteboard. All right, Reed again was the winner, and Dave's was third, followed by BA. All right, next question. Which one of these is not a British value? Which one of these is not a British value? Oh. All right, looks like we've got a mixture of answers there, but the correct answer is honesty, and only 3 people got that correct. All right, let's see. Oh, that leaderboard has changed. Daffy, you are now in first place. Thank you very much, Daffy. All right, let's go. Next question. Which of these countries have more English speakers than the United Kingdom? All right. Oh, okay. Another mixture of answers. The correct answer is all of the above. England is a tiny little island. All right. Next question. Who's on that leaderboard? Daffy, you are still in first place, followed closely by Julian. All right. Let's move on swiftly. Question 5 of 13. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Which countries make up the United Kingdom? All right, the correct answer was England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Let's see who's on that leaderboard. Daffy, you are the reigning champion, followed closely behind by Julian. All right, let's go. Next question, number 6. What is the capital of England?
Surely it's Washington, isn't it?
Don't cheat. All right, let's go. Thankfully, everybody got that one right. And Daffy, you are quick off the mark on this one. Okay, let's go. Next question. Question 7. What is the most prominent religion in the United Kingdom? Again, these are questions that we ask in the cultural awareness training session, and just kind of gives the international recruits a flavour. Church of England is the Anglican Church of England is the correct answer. Let's see who's on the top of the leaderboard. Somebody's got to beat Daffy. Daffy is going way too fast. All right, let's go. Question 8. How often is the British general election? The correct answer is every 5 years. Okay, let's go. Next question. Let's see who's on the top of that leaderboard. Claudine, that's me. Reed, she's back. Next, let's see. Question 9. The British love a bit of small talk, which is not considered small talk. What is not considered a small talk in the United Kingdom? These are really essential questions for international recruits to understand. What should we be talking about? Okay. For the most of you, 11 of you got politics, religion, and money, correct? Okay, so it looks like it's between Daffy and Reed, but BA and Julian are coming up closely behind. All right, next, we've got 3 more questions to go. What are the British famous for drinking? All right, let's go. Most of you got that one correct. Tea, somebody said beer, and coffee and red wine. All right, let's go. Who's on that leaderboard? Daffy, Reed, Daffy, BA, and Julian. All right, let's go. Who's next? Question 11, 2 more to go. The British like to form orderly queues. True or false? Yep, most of you got that one correct. All right, I think this is the last, no, penultimate question. What percentage of the world speaks English? Oh, what percentage of the world speaks English? And the correct answer is 20%. All right, let's see who's on the top of the leaderboard. Reed, Daffy, Zosie, Julian. All right, good to see you all up there. All right, last question, everybody. Before English, what was the official language in the UK? Before English, what was the official language in the UK? And the correct answer is French. All right. Let's see, the culture quiz. So we've got a little podium. In 3rd place, we have Zosie. Woohoo, congratulations. In 2nd place, we have Daffy. And in 1st place, with the culture quiz, we have Reed. Congratulations, everybody. Runner-up Julian in 4th place, and in 5th place we have, thank you very much, everyone, for indulging in this tiny little quiz. It's something that we do with the international recruits as part of their, as part of the cultural intelligence. I wonder if you could just, on your device, this activity should come up. If you could just do that quick survey for us. Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm probably just going to wait 10 more seconds for anybody else who wants to who wants to see where we are. So everybody's feeling really great about the quiz. You'd all recommend it. And we had some good learning outcomes, which is really, really great to see. Thank you very much. The last thing I want to do, and this is for the competitive ones amongst you, if anybody wants to take a screenshot with their name on the podium, please do feel free to go ahead before I stop sharing the screen and we get back. If anybody wants to take a screenshot of that, please do feel free.
I think Reed's a bot. I think Reed's a bot. I don't think Reed is real.
All right, let me stop sharing the screen. Thank you very much. And it's really great to see that there were some learning outcomes there in that particular piece. All right, so the last thing I want to do is go to the responsibilities of the care providers. Let me see if I can share my screen. Slideshow. All right, so this is the last piece that we really kind of want to talk about. And this, I think it's stuff that you probably already know. We've kind of spoken about this already today. And it may feed into also making sure around areas around your respective due diligence. So for those of you who had questions about international recruits and making sure you've done your due diligence as to who has a certificate of sponsorship, tapping into the care support, the support service that you are able to bring or add value to. So on that post-arrival support piece, you want to be able to make sure that the applicants demonstrate adequate skills, experience, and qualifications for the role. And one of the ways how you can continue to do that throughout the course of them working is with that continuous training. It's with the pastoral support. It's by coming alongside and making sure that they have all of the support training frameworks that they need. In terms of responsibilities for the sponsors, normally the applicants will be responsible for paying their UK visa, and this kind of speaks to the point about some of the unscrupulous providers who've been charging extortionate amounts of money to international recruits. Point number 3, this might speak to your point again, Patricia and Jennifer, about only assigning certificates of sponsorship to workers when the job is suitable for sponsorship and on the current skills shortage list. Most of you already know this. I've highlighted here the piece about you can only guarantee to pay overseas workers at least £20,963 a year. This is probably going to go up as of April now when the minimum wage shifts, and that is the equivalent to 37.5 hours. And due to abuse, HMRC are checking this via their real-time information payroll system. So again, that's all the more reason for us to have that collaborative piece of work. Then we've stated here that they can only work for your company, but it's only working for your company on the 37.5 hours. They can do the additional 20 hours elsewhere. And then we would work with you and to advise on any HR monitoring and compliance for your overseas workers. It's in small print, but on my next presentation, I am going to make it much bigger. It says sponsor space, prosecution and fines. Your licenses may be downgraded, suspended or withdrawn if you do not fulfill these responsibilities. So the piece about due diligence is really, really important for everybody to understand and to be clear and to be sure that they are doing the best that they possibly can in order to support not only support the international recruits, but also to make sure that you have done the appropriate amount of due diligence to support the international recruits. Because the last thing that we want is that you help the international recruit, which is fine, but then that puts you in a bit of a predicament or a challenging situation because you haven't been compliant with the Home Office or with CQC or with any of the other agencies. So we've come to the end of the presentation. I know there's a couple, I see a few more hands up, and we've probably got about 10 more minutes before we need to wrap this up. So Dudley, I'm happy to hand back over to you. I'll leave this on the screen. I'm happy to take any further questions. Again, you've seen the North Central London offer and you've seen the South West London offer. For the providers at North Central, this is open to 50 carers. So up to 50 carers can, from the respective areas, you can access support for them. And for those of you who are in South West London, you're able to access a more of a bespoke service. Just again, to reiterate, this is all paid for. It's all complimentary. You don't have to pay additional services for this. The respective partnership boroughs have already funded this via the DHSC. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm happy to take any questions, but I'll hand over to you, Dudley, so you can manage that process.
Thanks for that, Claudine. And yeah, it was a great game as well. I think it's really important to see the human side of people coming over to this country. What I've been finding is it's the simple things which staff are beginning to struggle with. There's lots of understanding about cultural awareness, as Claudine mentioned, coming here. I've spoken to various staff, and also as well being aware of elements around different things around protected characteristics. I've been doing training, particularly around LGBTQIA and the understanding of different protected characteristics. So all of these things are important because CQC, regardless of if a staff's from overseas, they're going to take them as your employee, and it's your right to have made sure that the people, all your staff, have been trained up in all the areas. So do bear that in mind. So do make the most of any of these offers that are taking place here. It's fairly important as well, but also having that open door policy to hear staff coming over. And finally, I would say that every staff member comes and takes their own time. What I'm finding is that providers expect staff to come in from overseas to be trained and hit the ground running. It may take time and it'll be varying across different groups. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I know time is running short, so we're just going to get through a few questions before we go. If we can't answer any questions before we finish, we will, Peter will share the answers with you, and Claudine will get back to us as well. I'll share our information in the chat as well. We have a WhatsApp group as well, so you can access that as well, so that should be fine. And before I just ask, I think Cassandra might have been next. That someone mentioned about the increase of 29,000. No, that doesn't apply. It won't be 29,000 because that's only going to apply for those who are not on required on the shortage visa. It'd be for those who are who don't fall in that. So in health and social care, we're fine. So don't worry about that figure of 29,000. But do be aware that you will have to pay when the hourly pay goes up. You will have to also increase the pay to your staff as well, including your care workers as well. So do bear that in mind. Okay, so before I move forward, I'm going to ask Cassandra to come in, if that's fine.
Hi, thanks, Dudley. Hi. It's actually Josiah. Sorry, it's Cassandra, but
there you go.
I do apologize. Just a quick one. I've got a question, but I just need to say something along the lines where Claudine was talking, if you don't mind, for just a second. There's a lot of darkness in terms of how people are coming to the country. This is, I think, one of the reasons why there's a lot of reluctance in people actually, or companies speaking out, because a lot of people have been made to come into the country by a means of paying a lot of money. So most of these companies have brought in all these people as when they got small little contract or no contract, they've brought in all these people and they've just dumped them in the country with no any direction whatsoever. So this is why we're probably having so many people coming in with no hours and no direction. So I think this will probably help just a little bit in terms of what probably people's questions, and hence a lot of difficulty in tracking who's come from who and what direction they're going into. So I think that helps a little bit just to understand, because there's a lot of darkness, and the Home Office is unpicking a lot, you know, with CQC and working together with even the providers to see exactly what they're going to do next in terms of just shutting down all these small companies, companies which have done all this due diligence. Sorry. So in a sense, there's all this going on. But my question is, how do we manage international students? Because that's another thing. See, we have had a very high number of international students coming to us. We are a supported living service, and they're tier 4, they hold tier 4 visas, most of them. And we don't know what happens after they finish their studying. Are they eligible to automatically go on and work full time, or there need to be a change of the visa? And also, what happens during the time when they're studying? Are they only allowed 20 hours? What's the actual situations? Because it's not only the international recruitment, but it's also the students coming in.
That's a really good question. Sorry, I missed your name. I know you're not Cassandra.
It's Josiah.
Josiah.
Yeah.
First of all, really great point that you made about the way how people have come into the country. And I kind of think that also speaks to Patricia's point about providers doing their own due diligence. So just because somebody has rocked up and said they want to do additional hours, we also want to make sure that they are supposed to be here or they're here legally. So that's a really great point that you raise, Josiah. Thank you for that. In terms of how we treat international students, I think the best response for that would be to get legal advice, because it's a completely different visa framework. Now, I know Dudley has access to legal team. So do we have access to the legal team. So at this particular moment in time, I wouldn't be able to give you any guidance on what that particularly could look like, because I think on those scenarios, each situation has to be processed on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the type of visa and so many variables, but the kind of overarching response will be seek legal advice to make sure that you as a provider doesn't breach any compliances that you need to follow.
Yeah, I'm just going to add in very quick, and I totally agree. The questions we're getting a lot of the time is now a lot of people are panicking about dependents and whether the dependents will be okay, and if they change over, what's going to be the effect on their dependents. Some people are coming to the end of their course and they only have so much time before they actually have to, before their course or their time elapses. So yes, I would speak to someone as soon as possible. I think as well, there's a lot of scaremongering as well that's happening. You're not an overstayer. You've come here legally, so it's a case of don't feel that you can't go and speak to, for example, a solicitor or someone, but rather than thinking if you speak to someone you'll be deported. It's not that case. So whoever you are in contact with, let them speak to yourself, and then you can come to us, as you mentioned. Claudine's here. We are speaking as well with local authorities who are also having support as well, lawyers, and also the Home Office as well, to get clarity. And students is the biggest probably change out of everything, because as of January, most of the other changes aren't taking place till March for the care workers, but some of the student changes have taken place from January already. So there's a lot of change taking place in that area. So if, as Claudine said, it's case by case, but if you need to, please share us the information, and then we will just put you in touch with the right parties. Thanks. Ifoma, I think you are next.
Sorry. I need to meet myself. Sorry.
We can hear you now. So
oh, sorry. So sorry. My question is about this providing more than 20 hours to people we didn't recruit. Is it an offense? Is it a problem if you provide more than the 20 hours to someone another organization recruited?
Really great question, Ifoma. It's not that it's an offence, it's more about you as the provider making sure that you've done your due diligence. So make sure that if you're the organization providing the 20 hours, make sure that you've had initial contact with the first employer. Have they got a certificate of sponsorship? Have they been recruited legally into the country? Are they permitted to work? So it becomes an offence if we haven't done the due diligence and if we haven't met the required minimum standard. So whereabouts are you based, Ifoma?
In North London, Haringey.
Haringey. Okay. So it might be that we have a conversation about what the specific situation is and how we can support those international recruits to make sure that they are able to access support services and that you are able to access support services. So you heard Dudley speak about some of the events that he's got going on. You've got CQC, you've got the Home Office, PJs will be there. So being able to tap in and get that real kind of one-to-one support. So just for clarity, it's not that it's an offence. It's about making sure that you've done your due diligence. And then you can then make a decision as to whether or not you employ them or not.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, you're on mute, Dudley.
Kalani, you're next. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. So I am a sponsorer. So I've been approached a few times to recruit somebody who's already sponsored somewhere else and would like to work 20 hours. We had difficulty in getting proof that they are working that minimum weekly 37.5 hours. Can we look at if they provide us their pay slip, would that be evidence enough to keep on file to say, oh, yes, they are getting paid, they are getting the 37.5 hours or not? Even if we can't get any answers from the other company.
I mean, Kalani, that's a really good question. And maybe, I don't know, Dudley, if you've got any insight on that, if I kind of give my position, I think it kind of still goes back to the due diligence piece, because the pay slip isn't proof that they are legally entitled to work here. They could still work here, still have the 37.5 hours, but do they have the certificate of sponsorship? Have they gone through all of the other due diligence process? I'm not sure if there's any other guidance, Dudley, that you might be aware of, either issued by Home Office or HMRC. Oh, you're on mute, Dudley.
All I would say, sorry, go on.
I was going to say that we still need to do the right to work for everybody who we bring into the country, and that actually states on there that they're on a skilled worker visa. So that's how we would know. It's just the additional hours that we need to confirm.
Yeah,
really.
That's what I was going to say. You can access that service, and even what you find is that staff themselves aren't even sure, because a lot of staff have come over and the agents were the ones that set their paperwork up. So actually get them to do it. It's a free check that they're able to access as well. So they'll be able to tell you what their status is, and so you can get to do that as well. So that's a good point.
Yeah, so we have, we have the right to work on everyone anyway, but yes. I can't get hold of someone to prove that they are getting their 37.5 hours at the other company. So if they provide us their payslip, that proves, right, that they are getting the 37.5 hours or not.
I mean, I could turn around and say to you openly, of course, if I give you a payslip, it proves something. But we also know as well that someone can give you a payslip. If you take it on face value, then you also have to understand that as well. So just be very mindful. Payslips is obviously, if you feel it's comfortable, when you've done your due diligence and checked in every shape and form, format possible, then fair enough. But I wouldn't turn around and just use payslip alone. But it definitely is something that can possibly help towards verifying whether someone and how many hours they do there.
Okay.
So we've got 2 questions. We've got one one question left, and then we've got one in the chat, and then we'll finish off. And if anyone wants to leave any questions, please do. And we thank you very much for joining on the session. So I think there was another hand, and maybe the hand's gone down now. Oh, maybe the hand's gone down. Okay. So there was just a question, Claudine, very quickly. I'm gathering that they're not doing the 30.7 hours. Can we give them 20 hours? The main provider should be providing 37.5 hours, but the Home Office and Claudine says we're looking to do collaborative work with those staff who aren't able to get enough hours, and we're trying to place them. Also as well, they're now for those staff who aren't in any work and they're in the country already, they're speeding up their the process for them who are already in country already. So please do come to us. We are matching as well when finding out providers who need staff or who are already here, and we're also providing a service for those who may not have enough hours as well. So please do get in touch with us as well. We'll try our best to have a one-to-one with you and see what we can do. Apart from that, Claudine, did you want to, if there was any other questions that I haven't seen?
Nothing that springs to mind other than thank you very much for everyone for turning up on your Friday morning, and also to use this opportunity. Our role, both Lcas and excuse me, PJs Community Services, is to come alongside to help. And I understand that there might be some providers who are in challenging situations and may not be 100% clear of what they want to do. Our role is to make sure that we support you in that process. So if you do feel like you're in a bit of a sticky situation and you're not really sure, then have a confidential conversation so that we can point you in the right direction. We've got legal team, we've got access to Home Office, CQC, HMRC, so that we can support you in the process. This is not punitive, it's supportive. Our role is to add value to your organisations. The last thing that we want to see is that your names are highlighted in the newspapers for poor practice. What we want to see is be able to come alongside you, hold your hand, and make sure that we have dotted every I, crossed every T. And no doubt Home Office might change the goalpost again, but we will continuously be here to support you in that process. So thank you very much, everyone. And I look forward to hearing from you in your respective locations so that we can offer that level of support.
Okay, thanks for that, Claudine. We will be sharing the recording of this, the slides as well, what you'll get access to. And please do, we've got the live session happening in North London on the 29th. We've also got Skills for Care on the 20th of February, and they'll be providing all the support they're giving, which is free. They've also got funded support as well, which means that you can access money on the ground level for the actual new recruits from overseas as well. So there is a way around that as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming in. And I think there was one question in the chat there which said that our lawyer said that you need a bank statement and payslips as proof of original sponsorship being compliant. So like with anything, if you're having anyone coming into your working environment, have all the documentation, make sure you check it, you have your list, your checklist, and make sure you thoroughly go through everything. And thank you very much for everyone for coming in. Everyone have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.